Hello and welcome back to this tutorial. In our previous video, we were able to install the Pandas library in our workspace. So in this video, we are going to start working with the Pandas library for our data analysis. And for this very part, we are going to start working with Pandas series. So what is a series? Well, you can liken a series to a one-dimensional object that is used to work with pandas. So now let's take a look at data structures that we have treated in the past. We've worked with a list, we have worked with a tuple, and if you look at those two types of data structure, you can see that they are going in one dimension. So when you have a list, you have something like 1, 2, 3, and the rest of them. And also when you have a tuple, you have something like 1, 2, 3, and the rest of them. So now you can see that this data is flowing in one dimension. So you can liken your series to a pandas object that is working with this one-dimensional objects. Okay, so now how do we create a series? So we can create a list object, so we can call it list, and we can set it to, of course, a list. We can call it a list of 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so and then you can now create a series, so we can call it S. And how do we convert this to a series? So first of all, we have not imported our pandas module, so we know how to write our import statements. We're just going to write import, and this time around we are going to do something different. So we are going to import pandas, and we are going to write another keyword as and pd. So now from all the libraries and modules that we have worked with, we just import CSV, import maths, import random, import JSON. But this time around, we are adding an alias, and alias is just like also known as. So now this alias is meant to help us to make our work easier. So assuming we want to be working with a CSV now, or pandas object or pandas method, we don't have to write pandas.series. Okay, so as you can see, this is already giving us errors because this pandas has been renamed to pd. So but if I do pd, right, dot, you can see we have all the methods and classes and objects that are available in this pandas library. So now how do we create a series? So remember, we have converted this pandas to pd, and instead of writing pandas.series, we are going to just write pd.series. So we are going to just say pd dot this class series, and we open and close this, and we pass in the object that we want to use as our series. So now what do we want to use? List, this list object that we have there. So now you can as well decide to create your list or your tuple object inside the parentheses where you created the object of this pandas series. And if you want to know, if you want to print this series, you can just print it and print s. So you just have this basically. So we are going to print s, and then we'll run. Okay, so I clicked that play button a couple of times, so that is why we have this coming out. So as you can see, this series has been printed for us as a table, and this table has the index of 1 to 3. So because we know that Python indexes the objects passed into it from 0, so it starts indexing from 0 index. So now I'm going to clear this, and right now I'm going to pass in another argument in this pd.series, and I would want to customize those indexes that we saw. So instead of indexing with 0, 1, 2, 3, I can decide to use a custom index. So I'm going to pass in this index variable, and I'm going to pass in, well, because we are using a list, we can decide to create another list as our index. So I'm going to write a list of A, B, C, and D. So we have 4 items there and D. So if we run this again, we have our custom index. So we now have our custom index. So instead of the 0 to 3 that we had before, we now have this custom index. So you can even use words, or a full word, maybe number one as your index. So if I run that again, you can see now that this index has been customized. Okay, so I'm going to clear the terminal, and the next thing that I'm going to do is that I would like to access the indexes, that's the different items in this series. So I remember that this series object has been set to this variable s. So if I want to access, I'm going to use the indexes, the custom indexes, to access these variables. So I'm going to change this back to a, and I can decide that I want to print, well, instead of the entire x, we know how to index. I am going to pass in the a string. So I want to access the index a. So this time around, I'm going to just get 1. And if I want to access index a to index d, we know how to index. Now you see all of them because we have a to d, right? So now you can even still use your 0 indexes and at this point, and if we print this, well, we still have this one, but a Python is warning us that this behavior is deprecated. So but although you can still use it and print your indexes, okay. So now we still have it here, but Python is warning us. So now the next thing we are going to do is that we are going to be looking at the methods that are available for Pandas series. So we have a couple of methods available. So but for now, I'm going to write a comment. So Pandas series method. So we have a couple of them available. We have the sum method, we have the mean method, we have the max, and we have the mean. Then we also have the describe method. So I'm going to explain all of this. And from your basic mathematical knowledge, we can phantom that this sum simply means that it's going to sum up all the items in your series. Then the mean is going to give you the mean, and then the mass is going to give you the maximum number. The mean is going to give you the minimum number. Now, this describe method, what it does for you is that it will give you the entire item. So it will give you the sum, the mean, the max, and all other information that you would need on this series. So without further ado, we're just going to print a couple of items. So we are going to print s dot mean, and we are going to duplicate all of this. So now I'm going to change this to max, and then the next one I'm changing to the minimum number, and then the next one I'm going to change it to sum, and the other one I'm going to use describe. So the describe is going to give you every other information that can be applicable to this type of data in that you used, all right, as your series. So I'm going to run all of this. Okay, so we have this 3 here, and that is why we are having that. So I am going to remove that, comment this out so that we have a proper value, a proper output. So I'm going to comment this out so that we see everything that we are doing. So now we have the mean to be 2.5. So it's just an addition of all the values in this variable, and we are going to divide it by 4. So it should give us this 2.5, and the maximum number is 4. The minimum number is 1. The sum of all of them is 10. So, and the print method gives us every other information that we need. Okay, so ranging from the count, including the mean, also the percentages, the different percentages of what we have there. Okay, so now we have the count. So this count method here, we can also use it directly. So you can say that we want to print dot count. So you can see we have the count method, and what this thing simply does for us is that it will give you the number of items that you have in your series, and then the mean, we already saw it here, and then we have the standard deviation. So this STD is the standard deviation of all of this number. So from our mathematical experience, we know what standard deviation means. So this mean is just the mean that we printed here, and the 25% is the value within that 25%, within the range of 1 to 4, you have that. So 50% you have that, and then 75% you have that. So assuming I change this to a different value, and I have 20, 30. So the next one I have 30, and I have the next one to be 40, and then the next one to be 50. So if I run the same, you have all the data. So between the range of 20 to 50, if you calculate 25%, the value that is on the 25% of this value range, you have that. So I hope you understand what all of that is. So this describe gives you basically all the major things, all the major information that you need about the items in your series. So assuming I change this item to a tuple, we can also work with that, and you can as well work with that. So once you have a one-dimensional object, you can convert it to a series, and if you run this, everything is going to work the same. So I hope you now understand how to use series in your pandas for data analysis. So thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you in the next one.